All right, we are back from the Legends Championship for me and Rick. You just been chilling out, holding the fort, right?
Hold the fort down. Did a little driving. That's why I wasn't at Legends. So I was following online. I was texting folks, following through social media, doing my best to keep in the loop what was going on. So missed being out there. Maybe next year.
You're one of those guys that you have a pulse on that competition without being there, like no one else would have. I mean, maybe Mike McCaslin. I mean, there's a couple
Hmm.
of guys that weren't there that happen to just know everything. We were talking before we clicked record about, I mean, you knew how many points I needed and how the last two workouts
Hmm.
needed to work out if I was going to win. But what's it like to be, a fan of the sport, a fan of masters athletes, and try to navigate that and watch that when there's not a stream? What was your experience like?
It was reliant on you guys. Boulder did a great job of live streaming, but as I was traveling on Saturday, it made it very difficult. So then I was able to go back later that evening and just pull up the posts and
Right.
watch what I could. Plus, when it's an event that you've been to and you know the physical layout and know a lot of the folks, not only in your age group but in others, you really felt like you were there. And it. I do miss the stream, but I understand can't do it. But for those athletes who had folks in the stands that were fortunate enough to be able to live stream, it does help. It helps you connect a little bit.
The live stream was fun for me because I was competing in the afternoon on almost all the days, like late afternoon.
Hmm.
And while I was at home in the Airbnb dying of being
Hmm.
sick, I was able to like jump in, peek at a live stream and see how the workouts looked.
Yep.
I
Layouts.
wanted to watch, yeah, other, athletes that were going earlier in the day. I could see like, oh, those wall balls. Ooh, that's rough. Or that sandbag workout is rough. I mean, basically any Legends work, almost every Legends workout has a roughness to it.
Hmm.
They're super challenging. And I got to peek in on the live streams as well. And was really glad to have our team there covering all of our athletes at the best they could. When there was a heat that had multiple athletes in it, they'd pan back and forth and try to tell a bit of a story behind the scenes. It was cool. But I saw lots of other athletes that had people there live streaming that, which is just a cool way that like the community figures it out. If there's
Hmm.
no
Right.
overall stream, people are able to grab a phone, and it's cool that that technology exists. Just here it is, grab a phone, and it's pretty darn good.
And honestly, for 95% of athletes at a competition, you're probably not going to be on the main feed anyhow. If you're not winning, if you're not in a heat lead, there,
Yeah.
we're not, the announcers are just not talking about the person that's in 10th out of 12th place, but it's important for that person in 10th place. So there in the backfill comes from your support group that is able to just focus on you and you only, because we
Yep.
know Chase is not going to, or Sean Woodland is not going to talk about. They just don't, and that's
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Well,
So,
if I did publish a video on YouTube about my experience there, and the short version of this, and we don't need to recap that whole thing or my experience. I'll get some questions for you about it. Excuse me,
yep,
still
okay,
recovering from
folks, this
from
is the real deal here.
it.
He
Yeah,
is
we're not
still,
editing out the coughs. It's just
he
legit.
is still under the
Um,
weather.
Yeah, I mean, I got there, I started competing on Thursday and had a little tickle of a cough Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each day progressively got worse and worse and felt worse and worse. And my recovery and all my vitals were just in the toilet each one of those days. And then, I ended up able to win the competition. The last three events were very gymnastics heavy, and that was good for me. I had a big deficit to come back, and going into the last event, I just wanted to try to stay on the podium. And
Mhm.
if I wasn't a podium contender, I probably would have stayed in bed all day and just withdrawn from the competition. But I had podium possibilities. So I hung in there, took some Dayquil, got the work done, ended up on top, went home and died. And then went to the doctor the next day and started the process of getting better. But I
That's a
thought,
that's a good shout out for Dayquil. We need them to sponsor CrossFit athletes.
seriously,
We'll
I
take
was
medicine
actually a little
that's
disappointed.
allowed.
I was disappointed in the NyQuil. Normally, NyQuil gives me the best sleep
Oh
possible.
yeah,
Like
knocks you out
it's
completely.
knocks you out. It didn't touch me out there. I was
Oh,
coughing all night, fever a couple of nights. NyQuil was a big disappointment. I don't know if they've changed it
mm,
at all, but I was ready for the best sleep of my life, and I did not get it. So a little disappointed in the NyQuil, but the DayQuil did
NyQuil
allow
helped
me to compete. So
to breathe.
um,
Okay, all right.
it was just terrible. Shifting gears from, my story, again, you can check out the YouTube
Hmm.
video to get that recap. But I thought maybe we could talk about the actual events, the overall competition. Like,
Hmm.
was it a good test? Were there limitations in the testing? What were some of the reasons that the workouts were the way they were? Because I have some stories behind some of that, some answers to some of that, and some feedback about the
Right,
competition, especially as a guy who, you know, normally I love looking at all the workouts, but there were days I woke up, I'm like, the last thing I wanted to do was do that
right,
day. And I had multiple
sure.
days of that. Overall, if you knew the workouts, Rick, what were your feedback on the overall programming for Legends?
It was a pretty typical Legends competition, with the exception. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was no real long event, was there?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. There
yeah,
was
but
nothing really over 10 minutes.
okay, they threw you in the water in a
Hmm.
controlled environment. There were a
Hmm.
lot of gymnastics. You had the barbell complex, so they tested strength. Kind of. The outdoor. We were teased leaving there last year, like, hey, if we can get those fields out there, we're going to use them next year. And sure enough, looked at that. I was like, I know exactly where you're running. So,
Yep.
there was a little bit of running, not on an air runner, but like under duress, under stress,
Yep.
using those odd objects, being a sandbag. So, I believe that you can always count on Legends to introduce something. And I think that a lot of that goes back to their partnerships with like RX Smart Gear. Is
Hmm.
that right? Yeah.
Correct.
When we get there, tell me about the rope because
Sure.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, it was I agree with you. I agree that it was well rounded in the sense that there was we were heavy in some ways. We got tested running, which was great to be able to run at Legends. So it was the first time, except for a runner. We did run it on a runner in
Hmm.
2020, but
Right.
we haven't had a chance to run at Legends in a while. The distance was a little short in the sense that it was 450-meter runs as part of
Yeah.
a four
Yeah.
round workout. So I certainly thought we would run further because we were running. That wasn't the issue in that workout. The issue was, in typical Legend style, were they really push you. That's the one
Hmm.
thing that's pretty cool about Legends is, and why I do like that they run the CrossFit Games, is that they don't sugarcoat or dumb down workouts for masters athletes. We go out there normally every time the workouts are released. I'm shocked. I'm like, you want us
Hmm.
to do what? How many
Right.
times?
Yeah.
It's always a little bit. It's not
They're
too
put.
much, but you're just like, oh, crap, this is gonna suck. So
Yeah.
there were there were two workouts that really got your attention. I mean, workout one, you had handstand push-ups, hang power snatch, and then rowing. Classic CrossFit 4 minute time cap or 3 minute time, three
Three.
minute time
I think it
cap
was three
actually.
because I can't
Oh,
believe that.
Rick, it was just, I mean, if you want to develop a cough, even if you're not sick, you will develop a cough
Yeah.
doing a three
Yeah.
minute workout out the gate. And that was fine. The swimming was very standard. It was an 8 minute AMRAP. The goal was 500 meters for me, which is what I got. Perfect. The next day we had, the Friday is where we had 30-pound wall balls,
Oh.
which was unexpected,
Okay.
and the heavy drag rope, which was also unexpected. Like, you try to predict what could they bring. And even as we're preparing for Legends, we're doing some of the older Legends workouts. They tend to use a lot of dumbbells. They tend to use sandbags. We tend to uh, be challenged with a heavier barbell, even some barbell cycling kind of stuff. And what they threw at us on the second day was 30, 25, 20 heavy wall balls, burpee box jump overs, and this drag rope. Now, if you've never done a drag rope, the drag rope
Right.
catches air. There's a thickness to it, so you
Sure.
have to work to get this thing to move. But one of the cool things about the heavy drag rope is that it has more weight to it, so
Mm.
there's a little more feedback. I think the heavy drag rope is actually easier than the regular drag rope. That's my first thought.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, easier in the sense that to do the skill of a single under or a crossover or a double under, the skill is easier, but the tax on your body is as bad, and certainly I would say worse, because it's heavier. And when you're doing
Okay.
something heavier for these reps, the fatigue level just goes through the roof. Again, I was under the weather at this point. This was already on day 2. I was not feeling well,
Yeah, it was
but
Friday. Yeah.
it was Friday.
Yeah.
I got done with that workout, crossed the finish line, and I rarely lay on the ground after a workout. I normally kind of walk it off, high five people, knuckle bump everybody. I laid on the floor after that workout for at least 60 seconds. And to the point where a judge, a familiar judge, you and I would know him, came
Hmm.
up and asked me if I was okay. Are you okay? I was
Yeah.
like, I'm fine. I mean, I'm dying, but I'm fine. He
Yeah.
helped me up and I
The
stood up. I
next
thought I
heat
was
is
going to pass
starting,
out.
sir. You got to get up and get out of
You
here.
have to go. But it was the combination of the heavy wall balls, which um in these heavy wall balls, the other thing about these wall balls, Rick, is that what they had they're really firm, really firm. They were like they were like it was like throwing a D ball, a 30-pound D ball. I mean, they're the correct size, but they're
Hmm.
brand new, so they didn't have a wall ball medicine ball feel to them.
Hmm.
So that threw everybody off. I threw 4 air balls to start that
Oh,
workout off.
okay.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, nothing like doing an extra 10, 30-pound wall balls over a total of 75 total.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
throw 10 air balls. That's going to cost you, and it cost me big time. Um, so that workout was really
Well,
gnarly.
tell me when I go to competitions and they throw us a heavy wall ball, what drives me crazy is usually the surface I'm standing on, because the
Yeah,
wall ball targets are attached to a rig, which is going to have the extra padding underneath. And the padding, I feel like I just sink in lower and lower with the heavier wall ball. And I never can
the
catch a rhythm from them.
interesting here is there was no padding underneath,
Okay,
but
good.
you were standing, you had to straddle the base plate of the rig. Um,
Sure. Yep, I
so the
got you.
rig extended out on either side and you were straddling the base plate, which was, if you're standing more narrow and you would be standing on the base plate, you're way too narrow in your
Hmm.
squat. But it threw you
Twist.
mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it twisted. You're like, I can't figure this out. I can't figure out how far away from the rig to throw the wall ball. And not everybody struggled. Some people really dialed it in immediately, but there was quite a few people that just afterwards were like, I couldn't hit the target. I couldn't get the wall ball balanced right. I was all over the place. And once you start a workout like that, it's just a panic attack for 7 or 8 minutes. And that's what it was. That one left you the next day. If you remember at Legends, you got to walk up the stairs to the athlete area and
Sure.
then
Yep.
downstairs to the competition area. So you
Yep.
start walking up the stairs on day 3 after all those wall balls and you feel it. Your legs are dead. You're
Yep.
dead. And it's not like 75 wall balls are that big of a deal, but at that intensity, it gets
Absolutely.
you. So, we're all hobbling around as sore masters athletes. And then what we've got to do Saturday first is with a 150-pound sandbag. So they told
Yeah.
us that we were going to use this sandbag, even your age group, up to
Hmm.
55 years old, 35 to 55, all using a 150-pound sandbag. Um, the week before they said sandbag and running is going to be the flow in one of the workouts. Sandbag carry, and a run. And it's going to be on the shoulder. So we practiced a bit of that a week before we knew what the workout
Yeah.
was.
Bear
We
hug. Yeah.
practiced it.
Yeah.
And not bear hug, which we do all the time as boulder athletes. We bear hug that sandbag enough that we're the best in the world at that.
Yeah.
But they had us put it on our shoulders. It's as if they were like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to mess everybody up.
I don't
Not
like
only
that
is it on your
feeling.
shoulder,
Yeah.
but you're doing 10 reps and then carrying that on your shoulder for 100 feet. Then you drop it, you run 150 meters. You do that 4 times.
Hmm.
And I remember when I was practicing I practiced 5 and longer runs, but 5 on one side was a lot, Rick. I mean, that 5
Uh,
just kind of crushed my soul. And
yeah.
now we're going to do 10 per set. So I'll tell you, when I do this on my left side, in that sandbag squat, there's something about my mobility. It doesn't work really well there. So I'm going to have to fix that, but it really messed me up. Okay. So I decided in this workout, feeling under the weather, dead tired, I'm going
On
to do
my
it all
right.
on my right side.
Oh
So
yeah. Then your
I do 10.
spine and your hips
Oh
and
God.
everything get a little
I,
out of
I
whack.
all out of whack. I did my 10. I walked the 100 feet or whatever, did the run. By the third round, I couldn't do the full 100 feet with it on my shoulder. I had to drop it halfway, switch shoulders, and on the last set of 10 squats, I couldn't even do all of them on one. I did 5 on one side, dropped it, did 5 on my left side as an emergency, and then still dropped the bag in between two little laps of this 100-meter carry. I took a 23rd in that event, actually, but
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the sandbag crushed me. I was under the weather and all of those things, but it was typical Legends fashion where you're just like sandbag on the shoulder. Okay, 150 pounds. Well, that seems extreme. Oh,
Hmm.
and it's 40 reps total. And there you go. That is a
Yeah.
Legends style, kick you in the teeth in a good way. And I don't say this is a negative at all. I love the workout.
Sure.
I think it was great. It was awful and terrible, but uh, brilliant. In the same
It did.
sense that last year, they had us do 30 squat cleans at 225 and 300 feet of handstand walking.
Hmm.
That's a nightmare of a workout, right? But they don't pull back. They're like, hey, masters, here is a here you go. We're gonna make you sore and we're gonna really test you.
Right.
And then they did. So that's my feedback. Particularly those two workouts really stood out to me
Okay.
as Legends like, because of the devastation they did to your body, the challenge of the execution of those events. And I was sore. I mean, it was maybe other people weren't as sore. Maybe it's because I was sick, but I was sore for 3-4 days after the competition. I mean, it dramatically sore, limping,
Well,
hobbling through an airport.
I was gonna say your body was in fight or flight mode, I think, for a few days too.
A whole
So I
different
mean,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you stressed it being under the weather. I'm
Yeah.
not a doctor, but yeah, it's no surprise that
Yep.
you were feeling like that. Now, one last little note on the programming. I think what you didn't talk about yet was the last workout on Saturday that included
Yep.
handstand walking for a lot of the age
Correct.
groups. But I
Yep.
think they went handstand walking maybe shorter distances for the almost up through the top age group. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because
I
that's what
think.
a lot of
Yep.
people, men and women, will complain about. Like
Yep.
you just said it, they're dumbing down the programming for all age groups or whatever like that.
Yep.
But or specifically 55 plus or something like that. And people want to do these
Be
skills that they've
tested.
worked on. Be
And
tested.
they actually the original plan, I believe, with the handstand walk was we did bar muscle ups at
Hmm.
Legends. I think they intended, well, I know they intended for there to be ring muscle ups
Oh,
there in that workout, but they rig outside in the warm up area was not sufficient enough to have rings to warm up ring muscle ups. So I think they made a judgment call to not have rings in a workout if you couldn't touch rings beforehand, which
oh,
is fine. I mean, we've done ring muscle ups at Legends historically without rings in the warm up area. We've done that in
2020.
San Diego and in 2020 in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's not perfect. It's not perfect by far.
No.
So they just went the conservative route and
Okay. Athlete
made it
safety.
bar muscle
Yep.
ups. Yeah, it's fine. I wish they didn't make the change, because that meant the last workout of the weekend was supposed to have bar muscle ups and they went chest to bar instead of bar muscle ups. Um, or
Gotcha.
toes to bar instead. So it changed the last workout a little bit, but it ended up being just fine. You were still tested in ways that were very gymnastics like. And if you're good at high rep toes to bar, you're probably good at bar muscle ups. Or,
Hmm.
if you're good at bar muscle ups, you're probably decent at ring muscle. I don't think it changes the overall event. But again, going back to your point, the workout was supposed to be ring muscle ups, handstand walks, and devil presses. I mean,
Oh.
what a beautiful combination, and
Hmm.
devastating and awesome to throw at masters of all ages, I think. So from that standpoint, if Joe and Bob are listening, keep that up. We appreciate that. Keep
Right.
throwing things at us that maybe we can't do. I'd rather do that I'd rather do that than burpee pull-ups, or whatever substitution there is for some of those high skill things.
Well, you are coming up on Wadapalooza. I'm not
Correct.
going to be there at that. And the way the weather's been here, boy, I'd love to just jump on a plane and just come down and sit in the sun. But that used to be I don't know if it's a controversial statement to say it or not. I thought for masters athletes, that was like the premier off-season event to go to. We've talked about it and how it's changed in field size and other things, and other events have come into the space. But I think some of their programming over the last few years has left a little bit to be desired.
Hmm.
You've done more than
Yep.
I have, just looking at it on paper. Whereas I think Legends will really push you, test you. Um,
Always
this
have.
isn't a Legends episode, but it is a Legends episode.
It
You know what I mean?
is. Yeah. Yeah.
There are other events in the Masters space that I think are doing a better job. Legends is one of
Mhm.
them, but you can fill in some other ones. I can say that having the experience with some others too,
Yep.
that have done a better job in pushing and allowing the masters athlete to showcase their work instead
Yep.
of becoming a bigger sideshow or a smaller sideshow.
Yep.
That's the wrong
I
term, a
agree.
smaller
And
sideshow.
I think the challenge is, and I'm glad that Legends has navigated this really well. I think MFC as well has done
Yep.
this. Um, and one of the things I like about MFC, and I know Legends did this last year, is there was an RX division and an Elite division.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that always creates the permission to give the Elite division a little more challenge, right? You know, like
Right.
really
Right.
give them
Because
something that,
there's something else
yeah,
for you if you can't do it. Sure.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And Legends didn't do that this year, and I know they did it last year. I don't know the reasons behind that, but I think that's a cool thing. I'm sure it's their intent to have
Yeah.
the most inclusive, the largest field, but for whatever reason, that's not how it was this year. I do see a lot of other players out there. I know you and I will both be at the fittest of the coast,
Mm-hmm.
which will be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I have Wadapalooza with the Masters teams. This will be my second Masters team event at Wadapalooza. Last year, earlier this year was in California. This time it'll be in South Beach. I'll be just curious to see how that goes. We had some
Mm-hmm.
tough workouts, but it's a team workout, man. It's super fun. I'm going to be on a team with Christian Harris and Eric Hinman, and I also know that Scott Panchek, Rudy Berger, and Chris Anderson are on a team down there. We, yeah, these guys,
Yeah.
that's gonna be tough. Like
Yes.
we're
See,
some
but
tough
with
guys.
a team event, you're gonna be working hard because you don't want to let your teammates down, but you're going to be
Yeah,
doing it. At least I find myself doing it with a smile on my face half the time
yeah,
because it's a hell of a lot of fun.
yeah. It
And I
is.
don't generally smile during an individual competition because I'm
Yes.
nervous or
Yep.
focused or whatnot. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, you spend your off time doing fun things like this. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what
Well,
we do.
this is what we
But
do.
you're right. The team event is because you win and you celebrate with a bunch of other guys.
Absolutely.
That's super fun. And you have to be a team player there. You have to
Hmm.
divide up the work. You have to be strategic. So it's very stimulating and very fun. So I look forward to that. I have a team event January, February, March at Beach Brawl. We just decided to go ahead and do that. I'm on a team there. And you know what else I'll be doing? I just added this to the calendar, Rick. This will be
Hmm.
after our semifinals, thankfully.
Okay.
But at the end of April, I'll be going to the Power Monkey fitness camp, which is I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's
Yes. Yes.
RX Smart Gear, Dave Newman, RX Smart Gear, Dave Durante, a bunch of big names put on this fitness camp outside of Cookeville, Tennessee. It's about a half hour outside of Cookeville. Um, and so I'm gonna go out and do that at the end of April, and that will be just a kind of a fitness camp. I don't know what
Hmm.
to expect, except that
Not a competition, but you'll be worked plenty hard.
I will be
Yeah.
worked, not a
Yeah.
competition. And I get to be a bit of a master's subject matter expert, for lack of better
Okay.
words, out there.
Yeah.
And that'll
Sure.
be a really neat experience to connect with the other masters athletes that go to that. So the calendar is full. It's stacked. I cannot commit to any more things.
Okay.
Period. Don't ask. I can't even do it.
Nope. Nope. You're on the record though. When you turn 50, we are doing a team of something somewhere.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
We're doing
That's listen,
and
I got a long time before I'm 50. I
yeah,
got some things to
exactly.
do first.
And I'm not putting together these all-star teams, but I am saying out there to anybody who's listening, I do like to do team events. So if you're formulating a team, ask me because Jason's busy. Apparently,
Yeah, I'm
he's
not.
obligated.
I am not doing any after Power Monkey. I will not be competing. Period until the games,
Right. Right.
and I'll be a 49-year-old trying to go for the number six. That's the plan. So, um,
Hey, professional segue there. Let's
yeah,
talk about the game season. Nice
it's
job.
different. It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, we've known they've had some announcements. You and I have had a
Yep.
couple of guests on the last few times we've talked, and I don't think we've gotten into the specifics. We still don't have details because the rule book's not out yet. I know I had a good talk with Bob, and he was nice enough to recap 2024 and talk to us about their full steam ahead for 2025, but without having the ability to release information. We're all in this waiting game for this rule book after the first of the year. But what we do know, we're going to call it Back to the Future, a little throwback
Yeah,
here.
that's a good way to put
Um,
it.
it's an open. It's an AGOQ, and then it's the games. Now they're calling it semifinals. So, but the Open, what do we know? Standard
Well, we
3 weeks?
know it matters. It matters
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Um, when it was the top 25% going to quarterfinals, uh, for guys like you and me and quite a few, you could just have fun at the Open.
Right.
You go, you
Community.
have fun. And I say that I still did a couple of the workouts twice last year because I just didn't like the way I did it the first time. So I still did them a couple of times. Because I just I enjoy it. I enjoy it. So I'll say that. But
Hmm.
it does matter this year with top 2%,
Hmm.
25% to 2%, with a minimum of 200 athletes, I believe. Yeah, that is a throwback straight to what we used to do
Yep.
through 2019, I believe.
Right. Yep.
Um, so it makes every one of those opens scores matter. It is one of the situations where I remember in 2016, I was trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games as a 40-year-old. I thought this was my one shot, and I got sick prior to, I think it was 2016 or 2017. I got
Oh.
sick, and it was rowing. What was it? No, it was bar facing burpee. 2016. Yeah, it was bar facing burpees and thrusters. 21, 18, 15, 12. I remember that one.
Hmm.
Um, I was sick. I was in bed all weekend, and on Monday I had to go submit a score, and I did. I made it to the HEOQ, but not even close to the games. That is something that comes into play when it really matters to
Right.
make that top 2%. Like you have to have 3 good weeks of performance. Don't want to get
Health.
sick. Don't want to get
Yep.
injured. Got to be healthy. Yeah, yeah,
Prefer not to travel, but travel, hey, travel is a good percentage of the masters community. I mean, that's just what people do.
yep,
I mean, you travel for work, you travel with family. There's tournaments for children. There's work trips. There's vacations. Of course, it's the spring. To me, the Open to me always somehow bumped up against spring breaks or things like that.
yep,
I mean, it was just there's always something going on. It's never perfect calendar. So yeah,
yep,
you need to have everything fall in line to squeeze down to that 2%, which, okay, so minimum 200 or 2%. I think we were playing with some of the numbers.
yeah.
As you go up in the age group, they have less signups, so that's where the minimum 200 will come in because 2% won't total to that.
Right.
Um, but then instead of this two-stage qualifying, we called it AGOQ. They're calling it semifinals. Obviously, it's April 3rd through the 6th, I believe.
That's correct. So it's
Okay.
shorter than it was
Yep.
historically. I believe the third through the sixth. So if I look at my calendar, I just want to
Is that
see.
Thursday through Sunday? I think
The third, it is. So Thursday,
Thursday
Friday,
through
Saturday,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay, so
And
it'll be Sunday at 8 o'clock or five
historically
o'clock
we've had,
Pacific.
we used to have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Right.
Now we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that Sunday is typically by 5 p.m. Pacific
Pacific.
time, something like that.
Yeah.
So what that means for us is that depending on how many workouts they give us for semifinals, might be one of those situations where you do more than one in a day. We've done that
Hmm.
before. We did that at the
Yeah.
HEOQ, Rick. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had those
Yeah.
days where you do 2 or 3 of them in a day, where you might do, if it's released on a Thursday, you may do one Thursday, or like 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, rest Sunday, repeat. I've repeated 3 of them on a Monday and improved all 3 scores before. So it is one of those situations where, I mean, I don't love it. I like that it's condensed and like you're just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's it. You're in and you're out and it's done. The whole season is
Correct.
based on that. So I like that in and out kind of way. It doesn't drag on. On the other hand, it's it's such a tight time frame that it's a
It,
challenge, and it's a challenge
if
for those that have families and trying to schedule. If you have to go watch your children's sports on Saturday
Yeah,
or
it
be a
takes up a good chunk
parent,
of time. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, it becomes challenging.
What we don't know, we'll find out when the details are released. But again, if you play with a blind leaderboard, that adds that next element, that other element of unknown. Obviously,
Hmm. Hmm.
you have a compressed or condensed time schedule. You're probably having to do over. You're maybe texting some people that that are friends with you or truthful with you that like, okay, well, that score really doesn't stack up, or how did he get that time? or
Sure.
she get that time. So like, here we go again.
Yep.
Got to give it another go. With a blind leaderboard, you're just rolling the dice. And the funny thing is, with these blind leaderboards over the last few years that we've done this, there is always a handful of coming out of left field. Didn't see that person, didn't expect that from that person, and boom, lo and behold, they're right there.
It
So
is.
you can't assume everything.
Do
So
you
take,
would know this for judging on
oh,
semifinals. Um, what we've had in the past is you have someone who's passed the judges course and they need to be in the
right.
video and that whole thing.
Yep.
They've introduced a new wrinkle this year, and I believe it applies to masters. You have to correct me, but
Pretty sure.
that person needs to have passed the judges course and have an L1 as well. Is that
I,
correct?
and I think there are two courses, I believe, plus
Okay.
the L1. So
Okay.
it's a threefold: be in the frame,
Yeah.
have your L1, have passed both classes and courses, and do it in a registered affiliate. They're
Right.
doubling
Can't
down
just
on
do it
that.
in this home now.
Yes. And then I could be speaking way off. Somebody shout at me if I am. The idea was, and Bob mentioned this a little bit when we talked, was those that have that criteria will then have the ability to unlock and view others that have posted a video. So the community is helping with the judging to a degree too, because the sheer volume of athletes, we complained last year when they didn't look at enough of ours.
Mhm.
Manpower just doesn't afford that as much as we want it, all of them to be looked at. Um, the
But they're
community
going
is
to
going to
go.
play a bigger part, but it can't be just Joe Sixpack. And I don't mean to Joe Sixpack over here, but Joe Sixpack can't
Yeah.
be a an armchair warrior and just crap on a score when they don't have
Right.
the credibility or have the credentials to be an accurate and fair judge in that capacity.
Well, and I think that is a huge bonus. One of the things I think you and I and it's just so much of the masters community, we really felt last year like, you know, unsure of the seriousness
Mm-hmm.
of the video review, and it was very frustrating. In we I was talking with my co-founder of Boulder Athlete. He's a software engineer. I was like, could you just create software where we could review people's videos and tie it to their ID? He was like, we could create this. This is not hard to create, even for free, just to provide to the community. And
Mm-hmm.
there are software solutions. CrossFit has done this historically. You used to do this for the Open. If you didn't have a judge, you'd submit a score, and then people would be able to vote online.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that they're opening this up. And all Joe Sixpack has to do is get his L1 and pass a couple of judges courses, and he can sit back, throw back some non-alcoholic brews and
Yes.
review videos for weeks, whatever he wants. It's fine.
I'm
Um,
not going to call him Joe Sixpack then because he's done the work. Yeah.
exactly. But whatever. I mean, I love it. I think I love that scrutiny. One, I like to try to make sure that when I'm doing the videos, it's ridiculously clear. It's always very stressful. I always have two cameras. I make sure like we're good on all this stuff. And the attention to detail that I put in, I know you put in as well, should have the same attention on the other side to to make sure that every one of those videos is getting reviewed. And if that's the direction that they're going, and that really happens, that is a good thing. I mean, thank
Well,
you, CrossFit. Again, it's if it really happened, if that really goes down the way it has been
yep.
announced, that is awesome, and I trust the qualification process. In the end, when you get to the games, and if you shouldn't be at the games and you're at the games, everyone knows. It's very
Correct.
clear,
Correct.
right?
And
But
last year with larger fields, you had a little bit more wiggle room if there were a
yeah,
penalty assessed.
yeah,
It's the holiday time. I should be in a better mood. I have my Grinch hat on here. The cynic in me, and I am cynical, believe it or not. The pendulum usually swings too far in one direction or the other. Last year it
right,
swung too far in the direction like there were no eyes on us.
yeah,
Hardly any
yeah,
at all. So my fear is the pendulum will swing too far the other way this year,
right,
and there will be so much complaining about the judging
yeah.
that I hope I'm
Every
wrong.
single person gets dinged. Like I
Yes, I
somehow
hope
I
I'm
did
wrong.
I only did 149 wall balls. I
Right.
somehow didn't do 150 and someone
Now,
counted.
is that going to keep Jason Grubb from the games? No.
Right.
But
Yeah.
will it muddy the process a little bit? Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to not go to the games for something like that. But we saw what happened when they hit the elites with the
Yeah.
no knee lock
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
full extension. There were people that did not, athletes, men and women, that did not advance to what their semifinals,
Semifinals. Yeah.
and their year was over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That
very
was, you're
still
right.
stressful.
And we could, again, if we want to be slightly critical, and it's fine, cynical, critical, it's fine. Because
Yeah.
listen, we can be opinionated, but there are ways to test fitness to make it easy for the video camera to see movement patterns.
Hmm.
And, you know, dumbbell box step ups, love it, love the idea, but that is just a troublesome movement. One of the things that's not troublesome is like bar facing burpees. Do a burpee on this side and then do a burpee on that side and basically do whatever you want to do to get on the other side, or
Correct.
burpee box jump
Correct.
overs, which are even worse, but it's just that simple. Like get your chest on the floor on one side and then jump on a box, get on the other side. There's no gray area there, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Deadlifts can be a little trickier. But we did have deadlifts in the open last year. Dumbbell snatches, you could be pretty damn clear with a dumbbell snatch
Hmm.
or a wall
Sure.
ball.
Yep.
Even rope climbs, handstand push-ups, but yeah, can get a little tricky. But I think you can, as a program, especially for the
Right.
open, I guess semifinals as well. But you could pick of the gamut of movement patterns that we have, the ones that are the easiest to judge.
Easily.
And
Yep.
but still get the fittest there. And again, I'm saying that, and while I say it, I still am splintering off the issues. Like you want to test ring muscle ups, but they're also kind of tricky, right? Because that
Hmm.
lockout on the top can be a little iffy. Bar muscle ups,
You
you
sure?
want to test handstand push ups, but you can have people getting goofy with handstand push ups with their
Right.
butt on the wall or something. So
Yeah.
I can say all that in a perfect world. I think dumbbell step ups are probably out, but I don't know.
Right. Well, this is why the kettlebell, which is a great training piece of equipment,
Yeah,
really hadn't, they played around with it in the games. They played around with it at regionals,
yeah,
whatever they were called way back when. And then it disappeared because it's so hard to judge. It makes an
right.
appearance at an event at the 2023 games that you guys did,
Yeah,
smaller field of athletes, more eyes on, standards clearly explained. It was a
yep.
controlled setting where they reintroduced the kettlebell. And even then, I'm
They
sure there were videos out there where people
yeah.
were getting dinged and it wasn't perfect, but you were racing.
Yeah, you
But,
you were
but for,
racing, and
yeah,
even with that, they created a new movement standard for the kettlebell to
correct.
make it
I
easier
forgot
to
that. That's right.
judge, which was
Yeah.
also interesting. And I mean, if you remember back in time when it was, burpees, bar facing burpees had to have a 2 foot takeoff no
Oh,
matter
sure.
what.
Yep.
And that was really tricky to judge because what does that mean? What does 2 foot
Oh,
takeoff look like?
slow it
Eh,
down or both feet in the air at the same time. Oh, like, oh
yeah.
God, just
Now it's just
kill
get
me.
over. I think
Yeah.
the same thing with like V ups. You have to touch your foot. Well, you have to define a foot with a V up. Does that mean touch your shoelaces, touch your toes? Uh,
Hmm.
but they're getting better. They're getting better and better and better. And then box step ups, and you lose 10 games athletes that should have been there. But again, you're right. I think you're right that the pendulum will swing, and there will be there's certainly be some issues with thousands of eyeballs on
Yeah.
videos now. But
Yeah.
hey, I think part of that for those of us that where CrossFit is a big part of our life, there's entertainment value in all that, Rick.
Oh,
Right? I
sure.
mean,
Sure.
we're gonna have a great time with it.
Oh, the simple answer, which isn't a simple thing to do, but it's improve your movement quality.
Yeah,
Everybody can stand to move better. That's what we're training and practicing for, and we've done this for years. There are physical limitations for older athletes, maybe that prevent a complete elbow lockout or,
hmm
something with your hip. But by and large, we're generally trying to all move better, leave
yeah,
no doubt, and we should be good. What we're still waiting to find out is, you know, field size for the games, because that
yeah,
makes a big difference. But that's a small group. There still will be a large number of participants in that semifinals weekend. That making it to the semifinals is going to be a very big achievement. And when you look at the numbers, you're really tip of the spear there in your age
yeah,
group. So Let's not mess this up, HQ. Let's do this. Let's do this right, because a lot of people
Yep.
have goals, and
Yep.
maybe it's not always at the games. They want to get to that next level. And quarterfinals was great last year. I got a
Yeah.
taste of that. Now I want that next stage. So people are working.
That's true. And excuse me. So with that said, we'll put a bow on that, and
Hey,
we'll package that, and we'll
nice,
wait for more information.
nice segue for holiday theme there.
I know. Thank you. That was nice. Put a
Yeah,
bow on it.
for those of people that are watching on YouTube, Jason and I brought out every piece of Christmas gear we could put on and wear today.
Currently, this is it.
Zero.
It's called a flannel shirt. This is
Yeah.
about as Christmassy as I'm gonna get.
I did have a Santa hat that I know I should have put on before. Damn it! So,
You know, if you would have sent me
ugly
a message,
Christmas
I would have
sweater.
found a Santa hat. By next year,
Oh,
we'll have to do that. We'll have to do.
yeah.
I mean, Christmas sweater, Santa hat. We'll do the whole
Oh, I've
theme.
got some good ugly
And
Christmas sweaters for you, my
it,
friend.
it would be, if we have a guest, we'll ensure that they come on. You know, that'd be a good
Yes.
time for Pat Barber to come back on again. I feel
Yeah.
like he would have something to wear. Well,
Absolutely.
Rick, any plans this week, or you just hanging out between Christmas and New Year's?
Staying local. I'm
Yeah.
working because I'm going to take off a couple days leading into the new year. So I've got this week to cover. And so not super exciting. Everybody's home. That'll be fun. I will get up early tomorrow and do the 12 Days of Christmas program by you. So
Good
I fully
luck.
expect to be sending you angry emojis by mid-morning. And that'll further set me off in the holiday spirit.
Well, I'll tell you one of the pieces that, you know, when I'm programming the 12 Days of Christmas, I was programming it at the airport coming home from Legends, and I was fresh off of being frustrated by a heavy wall ball and on the
I
shoulder
know.
sandbag squats. So they
I
made it.
saw
They
those.
made the cut. They
I
will be in
know.
there, and unfortunately it's a lot. It's a lot. But you won't be less fit. And I actually, you know, I saw a post. I saw a post on Twitter, and it just said something like, you know, there's no such thing as a good 12 days of Christmas workout. And I think, you know, maybe there is some validity to that, because, you know, no, it's not. I mean, it's fun. And what I like about it is that there's typically a bunch of people doing it with you. So
Yep.
you're like,
Yep.
you try to wrangle a few people. We got some extra people coming in to do it with us tomorrow. It's awful. It's an hour, so it's a
It's
long workout.
chaos. Everybody's
It's
moving in every
chaos.
direction. Yeah,
You're
there's no
just
flow
everywhere.
at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people in your
exactly.
way.
Yeah.
And but at the end of the day, you know what? You go in, you get a really tough workout in, and then you go home and you eat all the cookies,
Mhm.
all the. I know you're cooking a prime rib. I think we're
Yeah.
cooking a ham or something. I don't know what we're doing. I'm gonna eat
But
all
there's
of it,
protein.
and yeah, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna enjoy it, and I don't even care.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is the 12 Days of Christmas. It's a little community. It's a little bit of hard work. It's a
Yeah.
chaotic workout. And I'm
Yep.
not trying to win the CrossFit Games tomorrow. I'm
That's the
just
beautiful
going to have some
part.
fun,
Yes. Yeah.
you know?
And when you're doing a long hero workout, you're to be reflecting upon the
Yeah.
sacrifices that individual made. I mean,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, you just want to get from start to finish.
Totally.
That's all. And so 12 days is no different. It's holiday. Maybe I'll
Yep.
have a ugly sweater on, but I
Yep.
want to start it and I want to finish it, and I will curse you in between it. So don't worry.
Would you be the kind of person that would have eggnog as a post-workout recovery drink? You're not an
No,
eggnog guy.
too much cream. Nah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, that would
especially.
be pretty gross to have that after the
Yeah.
workout.
Oh, no.
But do you like it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes. Yes.
I will say to our listeners, you know, our last podcast was with EC,
Oh, it's
and we
great.
were talking about nutrition. We didn't bring up the fact that if we're talking about caloric density, there is nothing more calorically dense than eggnog. It is per ounce the most calorically dense possible thing that you can consume, unless you just squirt honey down your throat. You know,
Oh,
other than that, it is delicious.
you're getting me motivated. It's not in the refrigerator. I should
I
probably
know
go
I'm gonna
back
get some.
out.
I'm gonna get some
Okay.
tomorrow. Literally on the way home from
Good
the
call.
workout, I'm gonna go to Sprouts and get some eggnog, and I'm gonna drink the whole thing. I don't even care. I'll
Okay.
probably get two,
That
so that I can have one and the family can have one.
Yeah. I was going to say earlier before we sat down to record, I was at the grocery store before going to a haircut, like everybody
Yeah,
cares. Anybody cares. But the grocery store was like hellscape. I mean, my God, it was awful. I was like,
it's terrible.
it's
Yeah, that's no
terrible.
fun.
So, but I will go back if it's at the right time to get some eggnog. So, to be
That's right.
continued. All right.
All right, Rick. Well, Merry Christmas, brother. We'll see
Merry
you.
Christmas.
We'll see you on the other side.
You got it. Enjoy your holiday. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.